He's a fashion photographer, meaning he works alongside many beautiful women in his profession. Stylists, hair and makeup artists, and of course, models. This is actually how we met. I modeled my way through college and he photographed me, after which we became friends and eventually started dating. We have been together now for almost 3 years. I've since stopped modeling, but he is still a photographer. Never once in our relationship has he given me any reason to question his fidelity. With the exception of me, he has never dated or even befriended any of the models he has photographed. That was, until Rachel came into the picture. I've met Rachel. She seems like a fun chick, the type of girl who draws a lot of positive attention just by entering a room. She's beautiful, but her personality really shines through. She makes you feel like you're her best friend when you're talking to her. A very cool person through and through. That said, I'm not the only one who feels this way. My boyfriend also adores Rachel. The first time he photographed her, he stayed late at the studio and discussed ideas for their next shoot for nearly 3 hours. He was actually late for a night out with me because of it. But he's always had terrible time management, so I didn't think anything of it. The lateness has now become a steady, recurring factor in their shoots together. They hang out long after the stylists and makeup artists leave the studio. They also text a lot, and he's always smiling to himself and laughing when he reads the messages she sends him. At first he would show them to me and try to include me in on all the fun, without me asking. But he abruptly stopped doing that around 2 weeks ago. He tilts his phone away from me now when Rachel messages him. I'm not the jealous type, but if my BF had a history of doing this with the other models, I'd let it slide. The fact that he is only like this with Rachel, and me, I suppose, makes me wary of what might have transpired between them. Rachel herself has stopped talking to me. We used to communicate and have an easy, casual friendship via IG and Snapchat, but she pretty much ignores me now. Guilty conscience? I don't know. The real kicker is, my boyfriend now has a photo of Rachel as the wallpaper on his phone. He's apparently proud of the concept and the editing, and claims it has nothing to do with Rachel herself. Which is totally believable, but doesn't sit right with me. I told him that and he told me I was being irrational. Rachel is single, by the way. She and her BF broke up around 3 weeks ago. I really don't want to fall into the jealous GF trope, but what else am I to think? I don't want to make crazy demands and accuse my BF of cheating on me. Even emotionally, but he really does seem to be fond of this girl in a way that really hurts me. He has other female friends and he doesn't act that way with them. He's capable of being friendly with a girl without flirting or acting suspicious, but with Rachel it's different. He has slowly become very attached to her and I feel like I'm losing him. I have expressed this to him a couple of times, but he always tells me I have nothing to worry about and that he and Rachel are just kindred when it comes to photography. The long nights, constant texting, and phone wallpaper mean nothing. Oh, by the way, she's practically naked in the photo and it wasn't taken for any sort of publication, just for fun. Am I being irrational? Unreasonable? How would you feel in this situation? What would you do? Update. My photographer boyfriend has been growing very close to one of his models, and acting dismissive of my concerns regarding their work relationship. He has a practically naked photo of her as his phone wallpaper. WTF am I supposed to think? He and I are meeting for lunch in an hour. He confessed. I'm kind of a mess right now, but I'm lucky enough to have an amazing support system and a clear head. That's all I really wanted out of this unfortunate situation. My boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, has never taken nude or even partially nude photos of me. Although I modeled in high school and university, my primary focus has always been stage acting. He took my headshots. That's how we met. Not that it really changes anything. Just a bit of insight, I guess. When we were younger and when the relationship was newer, I would accompany him to his shoots all the time. But my own career is very time-consuming nowadays. I know of multiple model/photographer relationships where they accompany each other to every shoot. And I've nothing against doing that, but I personally would rather just trust that my SO is on their best behavior. Obviously what happened here kind of squashes that, but I stand by it. If I have to be there in order to make sure my SO faithful, chances are they'll find other ways to cheat. Okay, now for the good stuff, or I guess, the bad stuff. I met him for lunch Friday afternoon. We went to our favorite sushi joint overlooking the ocean, and I ordered more than I could handle, stuffing my face while trying to decide how to broach the topic of Rachel, but most importantly, our relationship. I went into that meeting with a righteous, ass-kicking speech prepared, but I forgot every word of it almost immediately after we sat down. I guess he could tell there was something on my mind, because he asked me if I was all right, if he had done anything to upset me. Snorts. Yes, Ian, you've upset me very much, actually. As soon as I gathered the confidence to look him in the eyes, I point blank asked him, "What's going on between you and Rachel?" His mouth flew open as if he were completely and utterly taken aback by the implication, but I cut him off with, "Do not bullshit me." I tried my best not to let anger get the best of me. I really did. I wanted to stay cool, calm, and collected like so many women on this sub. You know the ones. Those intense stories of cheating husbands wherein the wife takes to relationships, garners a ton of support, and then updates us later with a well-constructed storybook post detailing the evidence she has collected against him and the meeting she had with her uncle or sibling, who just so happens to be a divorce lawyer. Yeah, I'm not a badass like that. I wish I were. But I'm honestly just an overly emotional doormat, and I knew going into this meeting that I was either going to cry or gouge his eyes out with my mind. Because I had somewhere to be later, I took a hard left and got super angry. He could see it in me, the anger bubbling over. The people in the restaurant were starting to stare at us, too. In order to save face, I threw money on the table, with tip, and told him to meet me in the parking lot. If I'd had a switchblade on me, I can't say for certain I wouldn't have channeled my inner jet and beat his to the pavement. Kidding. Totally kidding. We met inside my car. He climbed in after me, his head down as though he were ashamed or, I don't know, guilty? I asked him how, and he explained everything to me. No preamble whatsoever. The moment he met Rachel, he felt some type of way towards her. He couldn't tell whether it was just a silly crush or something more, but he knew she felt it, too. How cute. They kissed the first night they met. The night he nearly stood me up. They had crazy, emotional, forbidden intimate the night she and her boyfriend called it quits. And they've been ever since. He mentioned he has always used a condom with her, but I don't care. I'm getting tested. I should mention Rachel was the one who was broken up with in her previous relationship. I don't know why or how. I didn't ask and I don't care to know. Funnily enough, Ian said he doesn't want to be with Rachel, he wants to be with me. And he even provided text messages to show that he's the one who decided not to pursue anything with her on official grounds. But I told him I give zero about what he wants. And unless he can go // his eyes, he should get the out of my car and erase me from his mind before I erase him. I literally said that. In any case, I went home later that day and drank a lot. My friends and family, and most of Ian's friends and family, have rallied around me in support. I guess he told his mother we broke up and how it happened, because she called me this morning and said she's disgusted with her son and that if I need anything at all, she's always there for me. For real, I'm going to miss his family. They're good people. The best people. This is my first adult breakup, by the way. The type of breakup where you're required not only to break up with your so but with their family and friends, as well. These people you've spent so much time getting to know and growing to love, are suddenly not in your life anymore, and it's, well, it's kind of daunting, really. Daunting and sad and infuriating all at the same time. So, that's the conclusion to this story. That's what happened. P.S. He admitted to cheating with Rachel and then I dumped his. So far, his mother, his teenaged stepbrother, and 2 male friends of his, have reached out to me saying how disgusted, ashamed and embarrassed they are on his behalf. On top of 3 mutual friends. It hasn't been 2 days yet. I got pregnant with my daughter Emma at 18. I lived at home and was going to college and working. When I got pregnant, my parents kicked me out and I had to move in with my ex. I dropped out of school and quit my job to take care of Emma because my ex told me he would support me. When I was 22, he was 24, he graduated law school. He told me I had to move out because he wanted to find a wife. My parents had forgiven me, so I moved in with them. We didn't have a court order, but we split custody pretty much 25//75 with me having more time. When Emma was 6, he married his now wife. She couldn't have any more kids and wanted Emma and her daughter to be sisters. Over the next 3 years, Emma spent less and less time with me. She'd throw a fit if I tried to pick her up. They gave her things I couldn't. When she was 8, she told me she hated me. I never blamed her for the lies her father put in her head, because even though I lived at home, I was in college and working and did my best to provide her for her, but obviously they could do more. They took me to court when she was 10 and surprise, the lawyer and his doctor wife with their $1 million home beat me in court. They painted me out to be this horrible parent and Emma backed them up. They got primary custody and I got visitation. But Emma refused to see me. I gave her money and gifts. But she didn't want me in her life. When I was 30, I met my husband. He is the most amazing man I have ever met. He's seen me struggle with this and been very supportive. He has a daughter Emma's age and a son who is 5 years younger. They lost their mom and were very welcoming and loving. They treated me like their mom. Emma made zero efforts to get to know my husband and stepkids. Emma and stepdaughter just graduated high school this past May. And my parents also recently passed and gave me their estate since I am an only child. I have decided to pay for my stepdaughter's entire college tuition and buy her a car, pay for an apartment. Emma contacted me a week ago and told me she missed me and wanted to see me. This shocked me, seeing as we haven't talked in a year. We met up and she told me she heard my parents died and asked if she could have some money to pay for college. I was shocked and said, "Well, what about your dad and his wife?" She said, "My mom and dad want me to pay for this on my own to teach me responsibility, and I believe I am entitled to money. Seeing as you ruined my life," I was very hurt and told her, after years of ignoring me and telling me, "I am not your mother, you demand money from me. I am not your wallet. My husband is telling me what I did was right, but my ex is telling me I'm a piece of shit and I owe this to her." My stepdaughter feels bad and offered her college money because my daughter and her friends have been harassing her. I said, "Absolutely not, that is your money." I am a 17 years old female, and I still live with my mom, my stepdad, and my 2 half-siblings, 5 and 7 year. My dad died when I was 5, driving me to the hospital. Mom didn't want to pay for an ambulance. He died in the crash and my leg and spine got busted up in a way that has left me needing a cane pretty much ever since. My stepdad's always been a little distant with me. He likes to make jokes about how I'm an early blooming black widow. I think he gets that from my mom, who blames me for my dad's death. I do too, it is my fault after all, so I don't push back on it. Anyway, the point is that with the current situation, my parents are always looking for ways to get my half-siblings active and doing things without leaving the house, and have recently settled on scavenger hunts. I have no problem with this, honestly. I wish they'd stop hiding stuff in my underwear drawer, but it's a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, so that's not the worst. My problem though is that they keep taking my cane when I'm not looking. I tend to get lost in my homework and my writing hobby and zone out, and having it be one of the items that my half-siblings have to find. When I complain to my stepdad, he's a SAHD, so is usually the one running these things. He scolds me for being selfish and points out that my swivel chair has wheels if I need the bathroom and that they always get it to me before I have to go downstairs for dinner. I tried my mom yesterday, and she said that I was being a brat and that if I wanted a father who cared about me, I shouldn't have killed my dad. I got really upset at that point and called my grandparents, my mom's parents. Dads are dead too. They showed up at 10 p.m. yesterday, and Grandma screamed at them while Grandpa packed my stuff up and helped me out to their car. My mom's been blowing up my phone and email, calling me all sorts of names and accusing me of turning her family against her and trying to get her in legal trouble, since minors can't move out. And I can't help but think that maybe she's. My daughter received a bike from her uncle, my brother, on her 11th birthday. She was over the moon and excited to use it because it was on her wish list for so long. Days ago, I discovered that my husband reached out to my brother to ask for the recipient for the bike and returned it to the store, and kept the money for himself while my daughter was at school. The bike was at home. My daughter and I got home and she started crying after noticing the bike was gone. My husband was home at the time. He told me he returned the bike and got money in return to spend on something useful for us since the bike was just there as a distraction and there was no need for it now since we're the dead of winter. I was aggravated and lost it on him, saying it wasn't his, didn't come from him. And he didn't pay for it, so he had no right to touch it, knowing our daughter's been wanting it for a long time, and my brother was decent enough to buy it for her despite barely having money to get him by. I told him what he did was theft and insisted he hand over the money to me so I could repurchase it, but he said he spent it on stuff for the house and doesn't have any money left now. But I knew about the money he was stashing away in the bedroom that he forbade me from tossing, and I took some of it and went out to repurchase the bike while he was out the next day. He found out and verbally lashed out at me, saying I should have never touched the money he was saving for himself, which isn't much, but I lashed right back that I had to so I could repurchase the bike he took from under our daughter. He explained that he didn't keep the money for himself and instead spent it for necessities for our home, but he was at fault for taking the bike in the first place and he was responsible for getting it back. He yelled at me for almost 10 minutes, then stormed outside and started smoking. My daughter asked why her dad was upset and that she no longer wants the bike if dad doesn't want her to have it. But I assured her that's not the case and told her she shouldn't feel guilty and to just focus on enjoying her bike. My husband hasn't stopped grilling me about how I disrespected and undermined him, and managed to make our daughter hate him after making him look like the bad guy. I again said he shouldn't have touched the bike. End of the story. He's called me thief and juvenile for taking money from his savings and being sneaky about it.